What's good, everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, this is going to be the first of many analysis, speculation, and theorizing videos I'm going to release before Tears of the Kingdom comes out in anticipation of that game, because like everybody else, I'm extremely hyped for the game and I can't wait for it to come out. Today's video is going to be 5 enemies that I want to see in Tears of the Kingdom. Now, before we get into the video, this is my opinion. These are just enemies that I personally want back in the game, and things like that. And another thing, I won't be going over any leaks in this video, and I probably won't be covering any on my channel either. But let's get into the video. The first enemy on this list is the Wolfos. We've seen these in the 64 games, and we've also seen them in Twilight Princess and Spirit Tracks. Now, the Wolfos is a cool enemy type. It's just a wolf, but I think it would fit really well into Breath of the Wild's enemy pool, as we already have dogs and regular wolves throughout Hyrule. So just imagine if we had Wolfos, but it's like a regular wolf, but it's been tainted by malice or something like that. I think that would be really cool. Maybe they could be random spawns at night. And the unique thing about Wolfos, at least in the 64 games, is that you can't hit them from the front. You gotta kind of play around them. It's sort of baiting them out kind of gameplay, so you actually have to think during the encounter. Like, just imagine hearing a Wolfos howling in the distance during a blood moon. Like, you know something's coming for you. I think that would be super cool. Now, I don't know how many people are going to remember this one, as it's kind of specific and it's a really unique enemy. This one is the Pole's Voice. Pole's Voices were in the original game, Link's Awakening, the Oracle games, and Phantom Hourglass, which means they've never been in a 3D title. They're described as being ghosts with big ears and a weak point. That weak point being that they hate noise. Now, these enemies are usually pretty threatening. They can do a decent amount of damage, and they're extremely durable. They take a ton of hits. That is, if you're not exploiting their weakness. That weakness being sound and music. Usually, when we see a Pole's Voice, if you play an instrument, it'll either defeat it immediately or weaken it immensely. Now, I think this could make for a cool enemy type, as whistling is a thing in Breath of the Wild, and I'm sure it will be in Tears of the Kingdom too, and that could incorporate its weakness. I don't know, I always thought these enemies were really unique, and they deserved a spot in a 3D title. Now, next up, we have Wall Masters and Floor Masters. These enemies are very interesting and very scary. They're usually only found in dungeons, and only serve to take you back to the start if they've grabbed you. They can be really annoying, and I think they would fit in extremely well into Tears of the Kingdom, assuming we get large-scale temples back, where every temple is on the scale of Hyrule Castle, and maybe we could even see them in the cave systems. These enemies have had all kinds of designs, from disembodied hands to entire arms, and it would be awesome to see these enemies return. Now, Wall Masters and Floor Masters do behave independently from each other. Wall Masters like to hang on the walls and the ceiling, and they'll usually drop on you to bring you back to the start of the dungeon, while Floor Masters, they usually just chill on the ground, and if you approach them, they become aggressive. I feel like one of the scariest iterations of this is the Floor Master from Wind Waker. Before I played this game, I didn't know vacuums could sound evil. They could be kind of annoying, but I feel like they could also be really interesting to play around. Okay. It didn't even let me attack. Next up, we have Deku Babas, the classic carnivorous plant from the N64 games, leading all the way up to Skyward Sword. We didn't see them in Breath of the Wild, which is weird because that's the only 3D Zelda we haven't seen them in. But we did see them in Skyward Sword, and with all the connections that Breath of the Wild has to Skyward Sword, I feel like there's a good chance we can see these enemies back. Now, why would I want them back? Well, aside from them being a classic Zelda enemy, I think they would be really cool as environmental hazards to deal with. as we've seen them used like this before in the Skyview Temple, and in various other areas of Skyward Sword, where you have to climb up to places and they're being placed as obstacles. I feel like if we saw them growing out of mountains and out of cave systems and walls and things like that, they could be really interesting to have to play around and add a new level of difficulty to the game and getting around the map. Now finally, we have Darknuts and Iron Knuckles. I know these aren't the same enemy type, they are unique, but I wanted to include both of them in this spot because they both serve the same purpose. They're both humanoid knight type enemies, something we didn't really have outside of Yiga in Breath of the Wild, and I think Tears of the Kingdom could benefit from more knight enemies. Now Darknuts, they always have an iconic entrance. Every time you see them for the first time, you know it's going to be a challenge. Just look at these examples. Oh shit. Now they start off slow and they're really hard to whittle down. They do a lot of damage, and if you're careless, you can die really quickly while facing them. After their armor is gone, they usually speed up, get faster reflexes, and they're a little bit more difficult to take down. A lot of the time in the end game of Zelda, you'll see these spammed, so you'll fight 2, 3, or maybe even 4 at once in certain locations, like the Cave of Ordeals in Twilight Princess. I think Lynels were a really good challenge in Breath of the Wild, but seeing Darknuts in the engine would be amazing. Now Iron Knuckles are a little bit different. They're pretty much the same, except they're extremely slow. Their attack patterns are also extremely slow, but they deal an absolute shit ton of damage. If you get hit by one unexpectedly, you can expect to take 4 hearts of damage. There were a ton of hard-hitting enemies in Breath of the Wild, like Lynels and things like that, but I think more knight-based enemies with slow, hard-hitting moves or a fast onslaught of moves could benefit the combat greatly and add for a lot more meaningful encounters. With that is going to be the end of today's video. I wanted to try something different today, because I eventually want to break into more Zelda theory, speculation, and videos like that. Let me know how I did. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord from the description below, and consider becoming a channel member. Also, if you agreed or disagreed with anything I said in this video, or you have any enemies that you want to see in Tears of the Kingdom, feel free to comment down below telling me what that is. I would love to know. But that's going to be it for today's video. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.